Hey everybody, what's up? My name's Mackenzie.
And I'm Jonathan.
We are husband and wife, and we are TerreDice Games, where we love to play board games and talk about them, and board game conventions, which is what we're talking about today.
That's right. We just went to BGG.Spring, which I was like, what's that? But then there's BGG.con, which is kind of like BoardGameGeek.com. So I think that's where the joke came from. Anyway, this is their spring convention that they have in Dallas at the Hyatt, right in the middle of the airport. Like, you could get off your plane and take the little shuttle around and you're there.
Yes. If you have never been to this convention, this was our first time, or if you were there and you want to see what we thought about it, then let's go ahead and dive in. So like we said, this took place in Dallas, Texas, and it is put on by BGG. Now, if you aren't familiar with BGG, it is basically IMDb for board games. This site is way more technically awesome than it should be, in the best way possible. So much love has gone into this by the people that work for them, and just every board game community as a whole pouring into this catalog. And it's more than just a catalog now. It is like this amazing place, community, where people come together to talk about games, do like interviews. I got to do an interview with them about the design, about Board Game Design Diary for our game, and it's just this amazing company, and they now also put on cons. It's been going on. I actually don't know. I'm going to put the date when it started right here for a while. But this was our first time getting to go. They do it once in the spring, and then they do it in the fall. And we went to the spring. So what did we think about it?
Well, it was one of those like really fun, like you just play games the whole time type conventions. There was like a little, convention hall where there were some vendors. There was like a big bazaar where everyone was selling their used games. We'll probably talk about that too. But this is just like a place where you could like play games, which we very much needed. And we brought our baby with us, but they had gaming rooms on every floor of the hotel. We happened to get a room right next door to one of those gaming rooms. So when she went down for a nap, we would just play in the room next door and had the baby monitor, but you could hear it through the walls.
Yes, I had never seen that before. And like it actually being in the hotel. If the cons that we have been to before, they're for board games, we've been to Gen Con several times, and we've been to PAX Unplugged in Philadelphia. And and we've been to Level Up, which is also a play convention. So this was really interesting to see, and I love that they had like that ability to be like games on each floor. It really was because instead of everyone being at different hotels, because the whole con took place in that one hotel, they were able to do that. Now, I don't know if I said it, so I just want to make sure I did. BGG stands for Board Game Geek. I think we've just been saying BGG, Board Game Geek.
I think I said it at least once.
Okay, all right, just putting it out there. Speaking of babies and families and stuff like that. So one of the cool things that we noticed about this convention that stood out to us right away that made it feel different from other conventions that we've been to is that it felt very family oriented. Like there way more children were at this.
Not that you couldn't come as an adult and like be in an adult area by yourself.
No, you could just go and stay away from the children. Like if you're like, oh gosh, nope, not going. There's children there. No, it wasn't like that. I just mean it felt like a welcoming environment for kids to be there. Sometimes at board game cons, if you see kids, you're like, oh wow, there's like a kid here. It was like totally normal for there to be kids here. And there was like a section for moms to breastfeed, like a breastfeeding section, or like to change the kids and stuff. And so that was really cool. And then they actually had stuff set up for the kids to be able to do stuff while maybe their parents are playing a game that they don't necessarily want to play. Like we met some kids that they were playing Blood on the Clock Tower, and volunteers from BGG were leading those games and discussing them.
They also had the whole big like large dexterity game space. Yeah. Made it really easy for people like us who were showing up with kids. We got to play games. They have an amazing library, as you would hope. It was alphabetized. It was sorted by type of game. You could see on a little like website what games were available to check out. You go in, you scan the game, you scan your badge, you walk out. It takes 2 seconds. And every time I like thought of a game that I wanted to play, I could find it, which was very exciting.
Yes. And in addition to just having lots of play space, they did have a small, so it's not going to be like Gen Con or PAX in that sense, but they did have a small like area where there were several publishers there where you could go and see some new games that were coming out. BGG had like a bunch of merch that you could buy, some local vendors that were there as well.
I like bits and all the upgrades and things you get in the Board Game Geek store.
You probably can't see them. I'll put it in a picture. I bought these lovely earrings, dice earrings.
Yeah, and they finally got me with the tapestry bits because they added the arts and architecture ones.
Local vendors too,
Yeah.
which was fun. And so several of them there.
Freeze-dried taffy. That was delicious.
One of the coolest things we saw there was there's this new Lovecraft Lilo and Stitch game coming out. And
Love Letter. Yes.
Love Letter. I'm sorry.
There's also a Lovecraft Letter, which is quite good.
I'm sorry.
Actually,
Letter.
We should share about that at some point. That's a really fun game too.
Yes, that looks really cool. And with all the other Stitch coming out things lately, that I'm excited for that as we go. Another thing, so there was the vendors there, and then there were several activities that you could do, but the one that everyone seemed really excited about was called the Board Game Bazaar.
Yeah.
Bazaar. The Board Game Bazaar, which took place Friday morning. And what happened was it's an hour for people to come in, set up their tables of all the games they want to sell from their collection, or that's what it seemed like mostly. People want to sell off their collection, and people were all lined up in this ginormous line, and you have an hour to buy, and then it will just end. So people will be yelling prices. Prices will be slashed.
It'll be like 40.
Chaos.
I'll give you 20. No, take 10. Okay, 5. Deal.
Yes. And there must have been some really great games there at the beginning because people were lined up for this like an hour beforehand to make sure they were the first ones in, because I think there was some really good steals right off the bat.
Yeah, but I saw some of games we already had. I mean, we got some though. We did good.
Yeah, so we ended up getting, because we wanted to go do it, it was chaos, but organized chaos. We got Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which
Legendary,
I don't know if it's even good. We're super on a Buffy
I've
kick
never played
right
the
now.
Legendary system, but I've heard it's good.
Yeah.
Like I have a friend whose favorite game is Marvel Legendary, so hopefully Buffy
and
Legendary
Adrian's
is fun.
Wall.
We got Hadrian's Wall too. Yep. So got a slightly used copy of the Roll and Write Excel spreadsheet game, so I'm excited to try it.
Yes.
I think it'll be fun.
Yes, so that was really cool. I'd never seen that before at a con. It seemed to be like the thing that people love to do.
Yeah.
And everyone was really kind and friendly, and since it all took place in the hotel, it was very accommodating with food. So since it was in the middle of an airport, you weren't going to really be leaving. We did leave once. We'll talk about that in a second. But you weren't really going to be venturing out like Gen Con, where there's going to go to food trucks and stuff. They had really great food on site, and really
they took
great
over
cafe.
the whole cafe where you'd get like the normal generic breakfast food. They like replaced that with a whole like catered taco bar and like a whole bunch of other things. So they like had actually very substantive like good food options.
Yeah.
So I was happy about that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so going off of BGG, we ventured a little out into the Dallas area with some friends that we've been making, and we actually went and we did an escape room with our baby, and some friends. We did the Only Murders in the Building escape room, which was fun.
The escape game. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. It was very thematic. I don't know if it was the strongest puzzle that we've done from escape game, but if you like the show, there were a lot of really clever nods that were really fun to see.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. So back to the convention. Yeah, overall, what was your favorite part about it? I think we mentioned a lot.
I mean, we got to play a lot of the games that we wanted to play. It was really about the convenience of finding people to play games. I had one morning where I sat down and you were still getting ready because we had a babysitter that morning, and I just like started pulling out games. And then this guy came by with a Chewbacca shirt and a Disney World hat, and I immediately knew we were going to be friends. His hat said, "My cardio is park hopping." Or park hopping is my cardio. So I was like, okay, we're going to be friends. Then I found out he's also from Austin, so I was like, that's cool. And then he's like, I like Star Wars too, because we were talking about the Chewbacca shirt, and all of a sudden we started playing Star Wars deck building game, which we went and got from the library. And we're going to play more games in Austin, but just like meeting people and playing games and just being able to easily, organically get games to the table, I think it's a blessing to be able to just sit at a table and games start.
Yeah,
So.
yes. And speaking of the baby, I just want to redact or clarify, is when I said it's like super kid friendly. To be totally honest, on Saturday we did have a babysitter come to the hotel to be able so that we could go in and play those games so that we weren't disrupting, or so that we could actually focus. And while they do have stuff set up for the kids to be able to do, it is clear that it is families doing this together, not that you're dropping your kid off at like day camp. This is clearly which is what I enjoyed, is that I saw like a lot of families, like they were here, like I saw a lot of kids like at night with their parents playing games up in the hotel room.
Yeah, honestly, it was just a really pleasant experience. I think that library is going to be hard to beat. They had a like new releases area that was constantly swarmed by people, that had every hot game that's come out in the last 3 months. So like, it was definitely the place that you could go to try new games before you buy. It was definitely a place to meet new people, especially if you're in the Texas area, to like find people to play with. And yeah, it was just a whole lot of fun. And I got to imagine from most of the US, it's pretty cheap to get to Dallas. So to then be inside the airport, 145 a night, I think was the hotels. It's pretty reasonable. You can get a good convention out of that and have a lot of fun and play a lot of games.
Yeah. So if you had the opportunity, we enjoyed it. We hadn't gone before, and I wish we had had the opportunity, but I'm glad we're here now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if you have any questions about it, leave it down in the comments. We'll answer it the best we can, or find someone that can answer it. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, make sure to like and subscribe. If you are into convention overviews, and we have done a bunch of videos on cons that we have done in the past, and this is the first of 3 that I know of so far that we will be going to this year. We also plan on going to Gen Con in August, and then PAX Unplugged, not the club, in November. But thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll talk to you guys next time.
Happy playing.
Club.
Bow, 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 bow.